Prison Break is over. But it's over, I think, a couple seasons too late. When Prison Break first started, I was immediately interested with every character that they created. Not only was I interested in that, but I was interested in the conspiracy that made Michael's brother, Lincoln, in prison in the first place. I wanted two things out of this show. I wanted to find out why his brother had gotten sent to prison wrongfully, and I wanted them to break out of prison and right that wrong, or maybe just go into hiding and live happily ever after. Neither one of these really came to pass. What did come to pass was a long way of them getting out of prison. But along the way, we get to meet and encounter very interesting characters who, unfortunately, get killed off in the very next season. Almost immediately upon actually getting out of prison, we get a new villain. In the first season, our villain is the prison itself, as well as possibly one of the cops. But in the second season, there actually is a villain that's a crooked type cop who's basically out to get Lincoln and Burroughs, and Michael Schofield and Lincoln Burroughs, and he'll stop at nothing to kill them off. He's working for the government or something. We're not really sure. It finally comes to pass that this entire conspiracy was all the way up at the White House. They figure this out, and they kind of end the conspiracy against them, and they get their names cleared. The two brothers go, and they're about to live happily ever after when just more stuff happens. I really feel the show should have ended with them getting this money and going to live happily ever after. That's when the show should have ended. But no, they get sent to prison again. Ugh. So the next season, whatever season we're on now, I guess 3, they're in a new prison. They meet more interesting characters who get killed off. Whatever. They get out of prison again. And along the way, the show continually throws at us different horrible events happening to these characters that make you just feel so bad for them. At the end of it all, once they do get out of prison, slowly more of this conspiracy is revealed, but at the end is a really big, giant, yes, it's a big, giant conspiracy, and it's all about Scylla. What is Scylla? We don't get to find out until the final season. The final season finally reveals that Scylla is, in fact, a bunch of data that will tell us, like, how to change the world. It's, energy and systems, inventions, I don't know, a bunch of stuff that's going to change the world as we know it. These characters actually possess Scylla quite a number of times. The problem is, every single time, they never think of the most obvious thing to do with Scylla. Put the thing on the internet, or at least put it on a computer or a couple different computers and have them on timers. Say, hey guys, we now have this Scylla on timers, and by the way, we're about to release it to the entire world. It will become useless to you unless you let us go. During the final season, the other problem is they have a cop who they think is finally going to help them out, but turns out to be a bad guy. This is yet another plot twist that's just thrown at us out of nowhere, and at this point, I'm getting really irritated at all the plot twists they keep tossing at us. But let me just go ahead and skip it to the end, because trying to talk about every single plot twist would just be too long. And the bottom line is, the final episode is really what I want to talk about. The final episode does wrap up everything, but as it's doing so, it brings back a character who we all thought was dead, who is working for the actual good guys. How we're supposed to know that, I don't know, but he is. And he presents them finally with their ticket to freedom, and that's it. The show ends, everybody gets to live happily ever after, except for they don't. You see, Michael earlier had some sort of disease introduced so that we could have just more drama, and then the company cured him of this disease, so then he was able to perform normally. Well, once they were done with that, they bring it back at the very end, and Michael once again has this disease, and 4 years later, he dies. We don't know if he actually lived those 4 years and had some happy times. We just know that in 4 years, he's dead. So there you go, that's the end of Prison Break. What was the point of all this? I mean, seriously, you got all the people interested in these characters, then you just kill them off, and then at the very end, the person that you most wanted to see have a happy life doesn't even get to have a happy life. I want a rewrite. I demand a rewrite. There's no reason to kill off the final character at the very end. It's a giant slap in the face to the fans that stuck with this show all the way to the very end. Bottom line, this show should have ended when they got out of jail, and they should have had a happily ever after. Even though it did last this long, they should have still had a happily ever after. And they don't, and that's really irritating. I guess they wanted to make it true to life or something, I don't know, but none of it makes any sense at the end of the day. So, what was Prison Break, and what was the point of Prison Break? There was none. It was just to take us along for a ride, have a bunch of people kill people for no apparent reason, have people that are supposed to be smart make stupid mistakes, and have a very important scientific breakthrough never come to fruition because the United Nations now controls it, I guess, maybe. And, well, they could have just released it to the entire world at any point in the series and it would have been done. Bottom line is, Prison Break just took us for a long giant ride and slapped us in the face at the end. I'm very disappointed in the ending, but I guess I kind of expected that they would do something at the end where you knew that they couldn't have us have a nice ending to this. I think the other characters, for better or worse, actually got a better ending than Michael Schofield did, but I wanted to see Michael and Sarah have a happy ending, and they took that away. They didn't need to. They really didn't need to. Honestly, when Michael and Sarah are there and they're talking about their future, and then you see the beach, they should have just cut out the part where his nose bleeds and just fade it off and then say, Michael and Sarah had a happy life. His brother made that bait shop that he always wanted to make, and everybody else lived happily ever after except for T-Bag, who's still in prison. The end. There you go. That's the real ending of Prison Break. Screw you, Fox, for screwing this up. Alright, thank you. Until next time, peace out.